What's going on, guys? I am Toxic Jordan. Welcome back to the channel. So today we are going to be taking a look at the silver stone that you can buy in the shop right now. That allows you to get some Dragon Ball Heroes characters from the Baba shop. So there are actually a lot of good options here, which is a good thing because it's a pretty pricey stone. You have to pay like 40 bucks to get one copy of the stone. You can get up to 2 copies of the stone, which will allow you to pick from this whole pool of units that we've got in front of us. Keep in mind, though, that you can only buy each unit one time, and then they're sold out. So if you are planning on picking up 2 copies of the same unit, unfortunately for you, you will not be able to do that. So yeah, if you do have both stones, you're going to be getting 2 different units for sure. So yeah, like I said, there are a lot of good units in here. So I've got them all lined up and ready to go. Let's go ahead and start looking through them. I figured we would start with a few of the best and then just kind of work our way down from there. So with that being said, this is the best unit on the banner, pretty much hands down, or out of the pool of units that you can get. The Super Saiyan 3 Xeno Goku here. This guy is a defensive monster. He is absolutely incredible. So starting out, he's got Dragon Ball Heroes or Super STR types. 130% to stats. That is actually a decent battlefield leader skill. You could probably use this guy in Dokkan Battlefield. Interesting. So he greatly raises attack for 1 turn, and he does immense damage, and he has a great chance of stunning enemy. That's going to be a 70% chance. That's pretty good. So then he reduces damage received by 15% for the first 3 turns. That's nice. And then he's got 150% to stats at the start of turn, and he always guards all attacks. That is the main reason why this guy is insane. But on top of that, he's got even more. He's got the additional attack and defense 50% when performing a super, and then he gets an additional defense 20% up to 100, and an additional damage reduction 7% up to 35 per Dragon Ball Heroes category ally. So if you're running a full Dragon Ball Heroes team, for the first 3 turns, he's going to have 50% damage reduction and 250% defense, with a great chance of stunning. Pretty good. Pretty good. Oh, not to mention the additional 50% he's going to get on super attack on top of all of that. This guy is a god. He is absolutely insane. And if you don't have a copy of him, and you're finished with all of your summons on the Dragon Ball Hero banner, definitely get this guy with your stone. And after all of that, you have to look down here and see all the categories he's on. There's a lot of useful categories that you can use this guy on, not just the Dragon Ball Heroes team. Granted, if you don't have a lot of Dragon Ball Heroes allies with him, then part of his passive is going to suffer a little bit. But even without this stuff, like even before he got his Easy A, he was still usable. He was still a defensive tank, so he's just going to be even better. He definitely does not need this stuff to be usable. It just helps him be even better. So yeah, definitely a top choice here. So next up, we've got the Super Saiyan 4 Gohan that just got his awakening here. This guy is pretty impressive as well. Definitely a defensive monster, just like the Xeno Goku. I put a lot of the best defensive ones at the beginning because defense is the meta nowadays. Any unit can dish out attack. Attack is easy to come by, but in order to survive against some of these really tough enemies, you do need very, very strong defensive units that rely on things like guard and damage reduction. So that is where my viewpoint is. Okay, so this guy has 150% Giant 8 Power Leader skill, and then he raises attack and defense for 1 turn, massively lowers defense. And he is doing immense damage as well, which is nice, because this used to be reserved for Dokkan Fest exclusives, and now they're giving it to some like banner units and stuff too, which is nice. So yeah, immense damage here. Alright, so he's got 200% stats at the start of turn, and reduces damage received by 50% when there are another 2 or more Giant 8 Power categories allies on the team. So Giant 8 Power is pretty solid. Any of the Super Saiyan 4 units you've got are going to qualify for that, so that's definitely not hard to do. This guy is going to be super solid on quite a few teams. And then he's got plus an additional defense 50%, high chance of stunning when performing a super attack, so very nice. He's got this little 1-turn stun mechanic in here and some additional defense on top of the damage reduction and all of this defense he's got already. And then he has an additional 100% attack with a crossover category ally in the same turn. So yeah, another really, really strong defensive unit. Okay, so next up we've got Baby Janemba. This guy is super solid, mainly because down here, the portion of his kit where he has a high chance to evade, built into his passive, and then on top of that, he is going to have an additional 12% with each attack evaded in the turn. So his first attack that he evades he has a 50% chance to evade, and then once he evades the first one, then he has a 62%, and then 74%, and so on. So this guy is a really, really dependable dodging unit that you can throw in the first slot to tank attacks and stuff. You could even take him against Selmax, potentially, if you fancied it, because he can dodge all the attacks and technically take no damage. The downside of this unit is that I think the rest of his kit is kind of outdated at this point, and if he does end up taking hits, he's probably going to get hit pretty hard. But he is on some solid teams here, so there is some spots to use this guy for sure. Okay, so next up we have the Great Saiyaman 3. I saw a tweet yesterday where someone was saying, funny how the strongest Trunks card in the game isn't even called Trunks. And they are right, because this unit is kind of insane. Definitely performs really well. So he's got a fodder leader skill here, but he raises attack and defense for 1 turn, causes immense damage to enemy, and raises superclass allies attack by 30% for 1 turn. So definitely if you want to run him in slot 1 or 2, that's going to be advantageous for you. And then he's got Key 3 and attack and defense 130% at the start of turn. He gets an additional 30% attack and 30% attack and defense and chance of a crit 3% per Time Traveler's category ally on the team. So that is where the trickiness comes in with this guy. He's not going to be usable just everywhere because he kind of does need these additional stats to look really solid. So he's got the 130 starting out. If he gets the additional 30 times 7, because there's going to be, if you do like a full Time Travelers team, which there are a lot of Time Travelers units on Dragon Ball Heroes, so you can build a full Dragon Ball Heroes build that are all Time Travelers, by the way. That is probably the best strategy to use this guy under. And that's going to be an additional 210 attack and defense that you can add on to this 130. So what's that going to be? 340% attack and defense? That's pretty good. And then he's also going to have 35% chance to crit built in, which is absolutely perfect because if you look down here at the bottom, he has damage received from normal attacks minus 30%, and he counters. So the fact that he has built-in crits to his passive is so perfect because you really need countering units to critical hit if they're going to do a lot of damage with how much defense and damage reduction some of these modern enemies have. So the caveat with his passive is this portion right here, where he gets defense minus 30% within the same turn after receiving an attack. That's a little bit unfortunate, but it doesn't seem to be too much of a hindrance for him after he gets all of these giant defense buffs. So definitely a really, really solid unit. Okay, so then next we have the Super Saiyan Cumber card here. So this guy is kind of nutty now. He gets a great attack and defense raise on Super, and he is greatly lowering attack and defense, so that's a pretty solid start. He's got 200% stats at the start of turn, and then he has an additional 50% defense after he takes a hit, and then he has a high chance of stunning superclass enemies after taking a hit as well. So, you know, potentially, like, basically the way that this works is once he takes an attack, he just has a 50% chance for all the superclass enemies that are in the field to just automatically be stunned right then and there. So that's really, really solid. And then he has an additional 50% attack and performs a critical hit when the target enemy is stunned. So if his stun procs and then he ends up attacking them, he's going to get an additional attack and some critical hit chance there as well. Or it's not even a chance. He guaranteed crits against anyone that's stunned, so that's pretty solid. And then he has his Giant Ape mechanic when you go below 50% HP as well. So yeah, this guy is going to be amazing for Super Battle Road. And he is on some decent teams as well. He's got a pretty good link set on top of that. So yeah, this guy is going to be pretty impressive for you. Okay, so then we've got Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks. Nothing new with this card. This is, you know, one of the older units that got easy aid, but he is still hanging on. He's still doing decently because of the attack and defense raises he stacks for 6 turns, and then getting the additional attack on Super, and having these additional stats build up, and having the the extra additional attack built into his passive, just all of that stuff combined makes this guy a pretty solid tank. If he ends up getting off, 3 super attacks per turn, then his defense is going to be really mighty, and he can definitely pack a punch too. So this guy is pretty solid. Okay, so we've got the Xeno Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta here. Not nearly as good as the Xeno Super Saiyan 3 Goku, as they usually flip their kits, and the Goku is focused more on defense. This guy is more offensive. Still can kind of hold his own defensively, but he's just not quite as good. He's just kind of lacking a little bit. So but he does have the same leader skill as the Xeno Goku here, which is nice because you can use this guy in Dokkan Battlefield as well. A little sub-leader skill there is good. Okay, so he gets greatly raising attack and defense, and then greatly lowers the enemy's defense on super. He launches an additional with a high chance of being a super for the first 3 turns, so that's pretty nice. He has 150% stats at the start of turn, disables enemies guard, not the best ability, just means if he is attacking an STR enemy, then he is not going to be doing less damage. Plus an additional attack and defense 50% when performing a super, that's nice. And then he has an additional, additional stat boost and additional crit boost per Dragon Ball Heroes category ally on the team. So he is going to be putting out a lot of damage, that is for sure. But he does have a little bit of defense built in here too, because he does get the defense raise on super, and he gets the additional defense 50% on when performing super attack in his passive. So he can do something, but his defense is a little bit low here. So he's definitely built more as an attack strong unit. But being a Vegeta card, he is on a lot of relevant teams. So and he has a decent link set as well. So yeah, that is why I've included this guy on this list. Definitely a lot of places you can use him, and some places you might actually want to. So then we've got the Int Superfu card here. He's going to be 150% leader to Dragon Ball Heroes. He gets a great attack and defense raise and seals. So here's the weird part about his passive, is that he's got 150% stats when performing a super attack, but he doesn't have anything start of turn. So you can't put this guy in slot 1, or he's going to get absolutely destroyed because he gets all of his defense on his super attack. And then he gets an additional key and some defense and some evasion chance per Time Traveler's category ally on the team. So he really needs to be on a Time Traveler's team to do well, because once you're put him on a full Time Traveler's team, he's going to have 50% chance to dodge, and then the 50% defense at the start of turn. Both of those things are going to make a huge difference for this guy's survivability. And then he gets some additional attack when your HP is low, and he gets some additional attack and defense after evading an attack. So I might recommend putting full dodge on this guy, just because there's a chance that, if you want to run him as a slot 1 unit that can dodge attacks, just do full dodge, because you don't want to risk him getting hit before he has a chance to get this defense on super attack and this great raise as well. But yeah, pretty solid unit overall. Okay, so then we've got Sealus here. This guy's pretty decent after his EZA. So he raises defense for 1 turn, and then greatly lowers defense. That's pretty useless ability, but he does it. He's got 100% stats at the start of turn. And then he gets an additional 100% on super attack. He's a category support for artificial life forms and time travelers, so 20% to each and a key. And then he has a high chance of evading as well. So this guy is kind of all over the place, kind of does a lot with his kit. It's tough to say like how good he's going to be, where he's really going to stand. He is I would say he's decent. He has some potential here for sure. Especially if you build him with like additionals, and then you're able to get multiple of these defense raises, that can be solid. He only transforms starting from the 5th turn of battle, which is a little bit late, and I feel like a lot of places you're not going to see that much. Unless you're doing one of the harder red zone stages, then maybe you'll have that chance. So once he fuses, his kit changes up a little bit. He loses all of the dodging in his kit and just gets some additional stuff. So basically he has an additional built into his passive at this point, and then he gets some crit chance when you affect the enemy with these statuses as well. And then his stats go up a little bit. So he is kind of good. He is a big bad bosses unit, so that's something to consider. And then he's on like Transformation Boost and Terrifying Conquerors, so he's got some good teams that you can run him on. So yeah, this guy can be good. His kit is just a little bit weird in my opinion. Okay, so then next up we've got these two guys. The Super Saiyan Goku and Vegeta, the Xeno Super Saiyans here. So they are pretty solid as well. They're going to be infinite stackers of attack and defense, and support units for Goku's family and Vegeta's family, respectively. They may struggle a little bit with defense, just because they do have to stack, so they don't start out amazingly, and it does take them a little while to stack unless you've got getting really lucky with like the additional supers and stuff. But because they are these 40% supports on top of what else they do, they can be pretty solid. I do still find them usable in a few different situations here. They are nice support, floating units to have around. So definitely decent options to pick up as well if you don't have them. And then we've got the Supreme Kai of Time. So she has the tech version of the leader skill here. She'll be able to be ran in Dokkan Battlefield, potentially. I don't know that she's going to really match up with too many of her allies that much, though. Okay, so she massively raises attack and defense on supers. That's pretty impressive. And then she seals. She has 120% stats at the start of turn. She's a 40% support unit to all allies. That's really solid. And then she gives them a 12% chance to crit as well. And then they have a great chance of an additional attack and defense, 12%. And then she recovers 12% HP at the end of the turn in which an attacker is received. So she's going to be really solid. Seems like a pretty decent floater to use. She's going to be holding her own defensively for sure with those massive defense raises. And then, she's a really solid support unit as well. So yeah, definitely a decent unit. She's not on the best of teams, though. That's the only thing about her. Not a ton of places to use her, but she has some value. So I did just want to mention this guy. He is actually about to get pretty much kicked out of the meta because the only place that you can really use him is on the Vegeta's family team. I mean, that's not true. There are other places you can use him because he's got this high chance of guarding all attacks, and then he's got this stacking on his super attack effect. So, and then some stacking in his passive as well. So he's going to be pretty solid if you're able to build him up and if you get lucky with the high chance to guard. But the main place to use him is on a Vegeta's family team because the Majin Vegeta needs a strong Trunks on the team because Trunks allows him to activate his full passive and make the Majin Vegeta as defensive as he can possibly be. And there are no other Trunkses in the game right now that can perform well on that team except for this guy. The problem is the LR Vegeta and Trunks card is about to come out in like 2 weeks, and then that's going to be the clear choice to use on the Majin Vegeta team over this guy. So, but I did just want to include him on here, just mentioning that he is a really solid unit to use as a strong Trunks card. And then the last unit that I wanted to mention really quick is the Super Saiyan 4 Vegito. So this unit, the reason I wanted to address it, he is completely aged out of the meta. This guy will get absolutely destroyed if you try to use him. He is just not good enough anymore. He definitely needs his Easy A at this point. But there are some higher powers in the Dokkan community who are talking about suggesting that you pick this guy up with your Gray Stone because of the skeleton of his kit. So he's got a really strong potential in his kit because he raises defense on super. He's a support unit, and he has a high chance of evading and countering. So that right there already makes him really solid. So if you just boost his stats, give him a great chance of countering and stuff, and then boost the support that he's giving to everyone else, turn this into a great defense raise, then now this guy's insane, right? So especially because his leader skill will go up, he'll probably be 180% crossover category leader. So yeah, this guy could be insane, and people are recommending that you pick this guy up with your stone for next year, so that when he Easy A's, you'll have him and he'll be insane. Well, good news, you can just pick him up next year when he Easy A's. So I do not recommend that you get this guy with your stone this year, because for the next year, there are definitely better units that you could have utilized that are going to be performing much better than this guy, and then you can just pick this guy up next year. So yeah, I would say for sure that this guy stands above the rest. This is like an absolute must-have. And I think, honestly, even if you're missing maybe a few of these units, it might even be worth picking up a dupe of this guy if you already have him, because he's just so good. This guy is going to be performing amazingly. And if you just put full dodge on him, I think that's definitely the way to go for this unit. Full dodge is absolutely what it should be, because he is just meant to be a defensive tank, for sure. But yeah, so we did go over those, in my opinion, what was best to worst. So hopefully that was able to help you guys out. And, you know, declutters this convoluted mess of units that you're able to choose from. And if I didn't go over a unit there, it's because I really just didn't think that they were good enough. Not even worth, you know, touching on. So if you're curious about a unit that wasn't on the list, just assume that they're really not good enough in today's meta to, you know, to do much of anything. So yeah, I hope you guys found this guide helpful. If you did, then consider subscribing. Like, comment, and subscribe for, you know, to join the channel. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.